Welcome back to another YouTube video, and today we're going to be talking about how to destroy your SEO campaign. I'm joined with Julian.
Hello there.
So yeah, let's get into the video. Do you want to start or shall I start?
Do you want to go first?
Yeah. So I think that number one is using cheap content or basically cheaping out on quality content. Now, what a lot of people have essentially done over the years is they've started using AI, and that's not to say that AI content doesn't work, but if you're just blindly going into ChatGPT and giving it a prompt like who is the best SEO, it's not going to come back with a great article, and that's one thing to worry about. But then the other thing as well on the other side of it is plagiarized content. Now, a lot of business owners that I speak to, they'll just say, can I not just copy what my competitors are doing for their content? Like just literally copy their content and paste it on my website. And it's like, well, no, because that's just kind of like copying somebody else's work at school. So definitely don't cheap out on content. But then on the other side of it as well, it's not just all about content production, but making certain that an article that you uploaded 5 or 6 months ago is well kept up to date. So for example, if you're a law firm, potentially laws change every single year, and you might need to go into an article that you uploaded 6 months ago and re-update that and make certain that it's up to date and stays fresh. So that's tip number one that I would say. What's your thoughts on that, Julian?
Yeah, cheap content. If your content's trash, you're not going to rank, or you're not going to stay ranking. And the worst thing is, even if you do rank for that keyword and you've invested all this money in backlinks, but your content is super cheap, then when people actually land on the page, it's not going to convert. And then your rankings are just going to drop down eventually. And even if you get the traffic, you're not going to make money. So definitely don't cheap out on that.
Exactly. What's your second way to destroy a good SEO campaign?
Buying cheap backlinks, particularly off the infamous Fiverr.com. And, one of the biggest issues that I find is most people obviously struggle with backlinks. It's a bit of a grind, it's a lot of work. It's even a bit of a grind just hiring the right person or finding the right agency for that. And so people often turn to Fiverr.com because it's easy, it's cheap, you don't have to waste any time hiring. It's as easy as buying something off Amazon, right? But the problem is it's a total waste of time, because most of those backlinks are from vendors who are just trying to smash out the orders. They might get anywhere between 10 and 100 a day. They're using tools like GSA to build those links, so they're really spammy, low quality links. There's no sort of vetting or quality control, and two things are ever going to happen. I've never seen a case study where someone ranks number one off Fiverr backlinks. It's either like, number one, you get a penalty. That's worst case scenario. Like you get a manual action penalty or a link penalty algorithmically. Or number two, it just doesn't do anything.
Yeah.
But you've got to all of a sudden think about, okay, one day I'm going to have to disavow those thousands of backlinks I bought. I even had someone ask me the other day, they asked me, at what point do you recommend increasing your domain rating on Fiverr.com and buying one of those gigs where you can boost your domain rating from 0 to 70 overnight? I was like, never.
Yeah.
Never. The only time you would ever do that is if someone's got a really spammy link farm and they're just trying to sell backlinks on there and they want to get loads of link builders reaching out to them, which 99% of SEOs don't want to do. So just stay away from cheap backlinks.
Yeah, definitely. Prime example, I have a friend and he's really, really good at content. Like he spends hours just writing one article. But he's not the savviest when it comes to link building. Now, this is probably going back 2 or 3 years ago. And basically, I spoke to him about link building, and he was like, no, I get all my links from Fiverr. And I was like, oh, well, that's risky. And literally, within us speaking about that and probably another 5 or 6 weeks, his entire website got de-indexed and he got manual action because he was building spammy backlinks. And it was one of those gigs where it's 500 backlinks for £50 or something along those lines. And as soon as I looked at it, and it's
It's
Why'd you do
crazy as well
that?
because there's no accountability, right? Like, if, for example, someone hires you, Kazra,
Mhm.
like, you're accountable to that client, you actually care about that website. Whereas on Fiverr.com, it's just some guy in the middle of nowhere pumping out the backlinks, and he just doesn't care about anyone's website at all, most of the time.
Yeah. I think how it stems down is that people probably check these SEO tools like Ahrefs and SEMrush and stuff, and they probably say, "Oh, well, my competitors have 600 backlinks and I only have 50, so I need 550 backlinks to be able to compete." And 9 times out of 10, when you're just looking at baseline figures like that, it's actually the wrong way of thinking about SEO, because in reality, you could probably get results just by building 50 backlinks. You don't even need to aim for the massive picture of building 550, because every single website on the planet has some form of toxic links, or what I like to call non needle pushing links, where it's kind of just linking to that website, but it's not actually doing anything. So you always just need to bear that in mind when you are looking at your competitors and stuff. So method number 2 to destroy SEO, or a perfectly SEO or a good SEO campaign, is not looking at technical SEO. And I think that this is pretty important. And obviously, for some of the advanced SEOs watching this video, it's going to be a given. But if your technical SEO is bad, let's say you've got a load of internal links that are bringing back errors, or 404s, or they're double 301s, or potentially you have an image that's just been taken on like, let's say, a DSLR, and it's a 5 megabyte image, and it takes 5 minutes for that page to load. Just simple technical SEO fixes you should be looking to do. Now, I don't think that a technical SEO audit should be done every single month. I think that if, say, for example, you've just redesigned your website and you're moving your website to, let's say, WordPress, or you're moving it away from WordPress or something like that, you should probably do a technical SEO audit then. If you've not done one in a while, you should probably do it. Or say, for example, you're a big e-commerce store and you have a load of products that you're uploading through to the website, you should probably look to essentially do a technical SEO audit then as well. But yeah, technical SEO is massive.
Yeah, there's not a lot of information about there on it. Like, if you look at, for example, YouTube videos these days, that's where most SEOs get their information from. There's a lot of information about content creation. There's a lot of stuff about link building. But I think because technical SEO is not that sexy, people don't talk about it so much, but it is important.
Yeah, it's the other thing as well with technical SEO is it's not like a one size fits all, which is probably why a lot of YouTubers don't speak about it. Because, like, for example, if I was to do a technical SEO audit on a random local business, what you'll typically find is the fixes or the errors that local business site might have would completely different, or be different to what an e-commerce store might have, or what an affiliate store website might have. So it's not like a one-size-fits-all technical SEO audit where you just plug your website in and boom, you've fixed all your technical SEO issues. So yeah, next way to ruining your SEO campaign.
Yeah, so I think a really easy way to do this is just installing too many plugins to your website. And obviously you can go on the WordPress store, particularly if you're new to WordPress. Like, it's almost overwhelming how many plugins you can get, and people like installing them like crazy, popping them like candy. But the problem is that there's a lot of second order consequences in terms of how these plugins interact with each other and how they slow down your website. And also they can be a potential risk for getting hacked as well. Like, some of them are not that secure. But one of the biggest issues here, I think, is like with SEO, it's all about the fundamentals and keeping things simple and just implementing, like taking massive action. And I think sometimes the mind feeds off complexity, and we all like to overcomplicate things sometimes. And so we're like, right, I want to get this plugin, I'm going to get that plugin, I'm going to get this one, looks cool as well. And then before you know it, your whole WordPress dashboard when you log in is like crazy amounts of pop-ups. You can't even find your posts anymore. You got to scroll all the way down, and it's very distracting when you log into WordPress. Now, for example, I had a virtual assistant that was working on one of my case study websites, and the traffic was popping off. Like, it was growing off all the time. And they installed one plugin, and we'll come on to one of the other points about this in a second, but they installed a plugin that actually de-indexed some of our top ranking content. And so I'm checking the analytics. I'm like, whoa, what happened here? We were flying. And obviously it takes a while to figure that out as well, because you can't, there's no plugin that says, oh, it's this plugin that's de-indexed all your content. So you got to go through them all. And the more you have, the longer that takes. And then you're like, right, well, if I uninstall that or I get rid of it, what else is it going to impact? And so all these problems come along just because you're overcomplicating stuff.
Yeah, definitely. Like I love WordPress, and I know that like a lot of advanced, like super advanced developers kind of hate on WordPress because of that reasoning that you've just said. Now, going back like 2 or 3 years, we've had the exact same issues that you just mentioned, but basically the way that I like to set up my own websites now is I want to say that a lot of my websites only have a maximum of 3 or 4 maybe plugins, and a lot of the plugins are custom coded. Now, what you typically find is when you essentially get a plugin off the WordPress repository, you might only be using like, let's say 10% of that plugin, but there's also these 900 different functions that it also does. It might do pop-ups or it might do whatever else, and that kind of does slow your website down as well. Now, obviously, the setup that I've just mentioned with the 3 or 4 custom plugins, that is quite like it's quite an expensive setup. Now, would I recommend that to everyone? Probably not. But it is something to definitely be aware of, because it can definitely ruin your website. And not only that, you've got plugins or you've got tools like Elementor that gets hacked very, very frequently. I want to say it's almost twice a year it gets hacked, and it's also on like millions of websites. So just bear that in mind when you are using plugins. I'm not saying don't use any plugins, but just have in the back of your head, do you 100% need that plugin? Potentially, can you get it custom coded? If the money's there, definitely look to get it custom coded, because 9 times out of 10, a custom coded plugin is a lot harder to hack than a plugin that's installed on millions, if not billions, of websites across the web.
Do you think this is where a lot of safe links come from?
Yeah. So that's another thing as well. Like, people essentially hack websites to inject links into them and stuff. So just bear that in mind when you are going down the plugin route as well. And then the next tip, I don't think we should be calling these tips, but the next way to destroy an SEO campaign is just quality control. So obviously, over time, with a more successful SEO campaign, you're going to be hiring more staff, whether it's content writers, video editors, and stuff like that. And you just need somebody at the top controlling the quality and making certain that everything is done to your standard or to your brand standard. So if you've just went and scaled from, let's say, 1 content writer to 5 content writers, or 1 link builder to 5 link builders, are they following the SOP to the exact way that you want it, or are they dipping in quality? Because as soon as you start dipping in quality, you might not see the impact now, but you might see it in 6 months' time, and then that's a serious issue, especially if you've just hired, let's say, 3 content writers and they're producing 10 articles a week. In 6 months, that's a lot of articles to be going back in to essentially fix.
Yeah, this is what I found as well. It's a really good tip, not just for managing your team of SEOs, but anything in business. Like, always trust but verify. Like, quality control, so important. I think obviously you got to empower people with freedom to do things how they want to do it, but it's a constant feedback loop where, you know, people, if you're not looking, can go off the rails when you're hiring and building the team. For example, like the plugin I mentioned before, and then before you know it, your top pages are de-indexed, it's costing you loads of money, you've got to mess around and fix it, and it's like, if you were just checking a bit more carefully and overlooking them and seeing what they're doing. That would help. Additionally, I think that sometimes people just stop doing the fundamentals. I see this all the time. Like, for example, you create a system, they go off and implement it, and it's working great. You're like, oh, John Smith, he's the best virtual assistant I ever hired. But then a month later, John's forgotten like steps 1 or 2, and he's just going through the motions instead of like thinking about what he needs to do next. And I don't think there's any malice in it, but if you look the other way for too long, you will get dips in the quality of the backlinks, the content, even just little things like the anchor text and that. And so I think you've got to design a system, they implement, but then you have a system where you occasionally just spot check. Like for me, across all my websites, my agency and everything else, I have a list of random spot checks that I make, and I'll just make one new one each day. And so from there, even today, I could spot like, okay, here's how we can improve this, that, etc. And you're kind of using that Kaizen fundamental as well, where you're not just making sure things are implemented, but you're also making sure as a manager and a leader that everything is always improving, like the quality of the content, the quality of the backlinks, even just little parts of the system. So I think it's just very important to keep the standards high and not look away for too long.
Yeah, definitely. Is there anything else that you want to add before we sign off?
That's it, really. That's it. Hire Kaz Buller. That's probably the solution to all of these.
Yeah, so for anybody that has any questions, or if you think that we missed off another strategy to destroy your SEO campaign, feel free to drop it down below. And if you guys do want a free 15-minute growth strategy call with myself, make sure to check out kazradash.com. The link is in the description as well. Thanks.
Cheers.